welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It's Saturday. It is time for the weekly wrap-up, the WWU. That's a lot of U's. I hope you've all been eating your Wheaties, taking your vitamins, exercising, both mind and body and spirit. And I gotta tell you, it was a trying week, a long week. A lot of things happened. I covered an awful lot of what was happening in the daily videos. And of course, the weekly wrap-up, we want to briefly cover everything, right? So I want to start with a news story that happened last week and is continuing this week. And it has to do with the overnight bank lending, the repo, right? The repurchasing, not like repossessing cars, but the purchasing ability of banks to lend to each other. They're getting money from the Fed. It's complicated. I don't like this overcomplicated crap. I wish it was simple. Simple for me, simple for everybody. So we could see the problems that exist rather than being so confused by the description of the financialization of our debt, our debts from banks, individual. If it was simple, we could all go, oh yeah, it's fucked. We can tell. Instead, it's so couched in strange terminology, so complicated that we can barely get it, and here we are. Right, here we are. Anyways, this repo thing, we were told, look, if it's a day or two, maybe 3, it's not a big deal. It's been over 2 weeks of banks and insolvency, quietly, behind the scenes. But this is exactly how it started in 2008. The liquidity dried up. The inability and unwillingness of banks to lend them the liquidity they have to banks that needed it. On short-term notes, right? Like anywhere in a day. They're just borrowing money for a day, then they'll give it back. And then they'll borrow again if they need it and give it back. Well, some of these rates or these loans are not just for a day anymore. They're much longer-term loans. And this money is being pumped into it on a daily basis. In fact, not only has the phenomena of illiquidity not stopped, the phenomena of illiquidity is growing greater. We started with 50 billion in one day. Then it went up to 75. Now we're at like $100 billion limit, right? And they're increasing this as we go, meaning the problem is literally getting worse. The object, the practice of quantitative easing, that is money printing. It was done years and years ago, and they said this is short term, it's not perpetual, it'll be paid back, right? It's not real, we're not going to put it on the books, and in truth, it is permanent. They have permanently monetized debt as a result, right? We're going to start seeing more inflationary effects from this. Now, interestingly, before this banking crisis crap happened, the Federal Reserve was saying they want more inflation and that we need to pay back. We owe them. Are you fucking kidding me? We already lose 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% of our income, depending on what it is we buy, every year to inflation, and we need to pay more as if they're doing us a favor? Excuse me, right? Anyways, it's not looking good. Now, what are the potential consequences of a failure in this regard? Well, we would have, very similar to 2008, a banking crisis, where some member of the Treasury, like Steve Munchkin Brains Mnuchin, or, Powell the Putz, would come out and say, we've got a crisis, we have a liquidity issue, we have to throw money at them. Remember the word TARP? Troubled asset, Right? They're avoiding that announcement by putting money into the repurchase market, the repo market ahead of time. All they're doing is stalling what has already happened, which happened in the past, which created a phenomena of bank failure, stock market crash, economic hardship. All they're doing is stalling the announcement that this is happening by stalling this liquidity crisis. Is shit gonna hit the fan? Nah, everything's fine. Go back to sleep. Grab your crack pipe, right? Take a couple of hits. No worries. Sheesh. All right, moving along. Oh, this week? Oh, impeachment gloves are off. By the way, yes, I have notes. There's been that much crap going on. Impeachment, the Trump, in my opinion, baited them, set a trap. The Democrats, you know, they don't, the men in the Democrat socialist wing of the country, about half the people in the country, think men don't need testicles at all. Nah, you don't need those things, right? So they have done, they've gone and put them inside the bear trap, in my opinion, with Trump. Because the exact thing they're accusing him of is exactly what Biden did and admitted to and is recorded publicly having said so and also bragged about. He set a trap, they got in it, they came out and said, "We're impeaching you, pal. We're starting the process." Well, guess what? They found out, whoops, they just took a huge leap of faith and gamble with this impeachment thing. But having talked to several good friends, but certainly I have a daily partner that's secretly out there doing his thing. He said, "Hey, look, that it's all or nothing for those clowns. They don't have a political candidate," and I agree with this sentiment. They don't have a good political candidate. They don't have a platform other than more entitlements, higher taxes for anyone who's in the middle class, and an abortion for all. Oh, and we're going to take your guns. All of the things that are going to inspire the Republicans. That's their platform. And it only appeals to half. Nah, I should say it's higher than that. It probably appeals to 90% of Democrats. 10% of them don't like one thing or another in their platform, and it's de-energizing. Right? And if they don't impeach Trump, it's going to make them look stupid. They're going to lose face. If they do impeach Trump in the House of Representatives, they cannot convict him in the Senate. They don't have 66 votes in the Senate to convict Trump on an impeachment bullshit political witch hunt charge, which can't be substantiated. And if anything, all the charges that are brought against Trump will be demonstrably proven, right? Because you can bet the Republicans are going to talk about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and Ukraine. They're not going to be talking about Trump. They're going to talk about Hunter and Joe. It's going to backfire. It is going to be a mud, cream, and moose turd pie to the face of everyone trying to impeach him. But the Democrats, they can still moonwalk out of this and try to get the dog shit off their shoes. But it's not looking good for them because they don't really have a political position or a charismatic leader like Obama was. Obama was very charismatic. I didn't care for his flavor of charisma, but he was very charismatic and he inspired a lot of people to vote for him. He brought in everything to the table that Obama needed. Hope, change, and white guilt. Oh, I love it. These people and their shenanigans. The same way they're exploiting kids now. Oh, that's another column here. Sorry about that. I jumped the gun, right? Trump impeachment. There's no choice for the Democrats. They have to pull out every trick and every stop they can in an effort to save face, save the party, and come up with something worth voting for. So they're kind of dedicated to this in a way. They're committed to it. What a mistake, what a shit-hitting the fan message this is going to send. Because you can bet all of the little commie turds out there, all the little socialist brats in college and postgraduate that are trying to pay for, get this, my son visited Chico State University, met a senior, said, "Hey man, how'd you like it?" "Oh, I loved college." "What's your degree?" "I got a degree in music," the kid says, the young man. A degree in music? We need musicians. Music is critical to our world, our culture, our understanding, our history. But how many musicians do we need? And will a music degree for $100,000 at Chico State University, how is he going to pay that off? Right? playing at the local jazz bar. He's going to pay off a loan. Tough game that guy's playing. Anyways, they've got no choice. Democrats must impeach. Now, I want to move on to some natural news. It was an interesting week for earthquakes. Usually we get some earthquakes in California or down in Mexico or maybe over by Vanuatu, which is a beautiful Melanesian island in the South Pacific. Beautiful, active volcano. I mean, it's gorgeous, gorgeous islands. I've watched a lot of documentaries on them. Usually we get that, or we get something in Japan, but we got some big earthquakes in some interesting places. Puerto Rico, Turkey, and Chile, all this week, all big earthquakes. I think they were all above 6, and a couple of them above 7. In addition to that, they released news that Mount Hood, which is in Oregon, Mount Hood, Washington. It's up there. It's in the Cascade Range, which is north of me. They've discovered a lot of active faults around Mount Hood, which is another dormant or sleeping volcano. And right over to the west of that, off the coast, is the San Juan de Fuca fault zone, which is under the water, which could send a slapping tsunami of water against the west coast and across the ocean over there in Japan and other places. So a lot of natural or nature-based action going on. This week. FedEx truck rolling by. I'm going, hey, FedEx, did I order anything? I don't think so. Okay, now back to when I was talking about children. Children are being politicized. Childhood is being politicized. Children and childhood are being exploited. Now, typically, when you talk about child exploitation, well, I tell you what, who is against that? Oh, social media. We can't have that. We can't have anyone putting children in front of a microphone or in front of your YouTube channel in order to get your message out, unless you have all the special permissions you need, and you can't monetize it because that's taking advantage of children and exploiting them. Well, what do you think the left is doing? The socialists are doing? The communists are doing? They have politicized children and politicized their childhood as well as their childhood dreams, right? The Green New Deal, the children are being used. They're becoming the spokesmen for this. And this is incredible. I mean, Democrats and parents are listening to their kids. I love my sons. I listen to them. But I don't change my mind about my beliefs. Belief systems, thought systems. Give me information, kids. Give me your information. But just because you say it doesn't mean I'm going to change my mind. I am 50 years old almost. You are under 20. I have over 30 years of adult experience. You have none. These children are under 18. They have no life experience. They only have what they've been told and indoctrinated in their schools by socialist and communist teachers who have an exploitive nature and agenda. But here we are. Now I'm gonna go with this. Maybe the Democrats and parents out there have learned the wisdom of youth, which is an oxymoron. They've learned from the exuberance and energy of the youth. They've had a change of heart about children. We should listen to children. We should do what children say. What happens when conservative, gun-loving, Christian, intelligent-sounding, articulate, right-wing Republican children start speaking? Will Democrats listen to them, or will they discount them? Nope, not listening to you. You're just a kid. Oh, we could turn our kids loose. We could turn really well-spoken, well-thought-out, charismatic, cool kids. Not like David Hoggs, the little angry twit. Not like that little Swedish brat that came over here. We don't need any of their shit, right? We've got our own version of kids. But will our kids be listened to? Democrats, socialists, communists will not listen to our kids. So once again, It is not about children. It's about exploitation. It's not about truth and fact, logic and reason. It's about exploiting children in the Democrat Party for political agendas, and then using every form of control and guilt to make people believe in their message. It is a sickness on their part to use children in this game, and they've gone there. Once again, the Democrats don't have anything, so they'll use everything available to them. You think about a war 500 years ago, fought with pitchforks and clubs and swords and knives and pikes and spears and sticks. That's how people faced each other on the field of battle, as well as having heavy horse, archers, bow and arrow, and other medieval tactics. But the Democrats have put children in front. They have. They put children in the front in this hand-to-hand world of political combat. And they're exploiting them and using them, and they don't really care. The little spoiled, nasty-looking, snarly-faced brat from Sweden. One is an embarrassment to Sweden, and Sweden does a lot of self-embarrassment lately. And yes, I am Swedish ancestry, and Norwegian, and Iceland, and German as well. But it's embarrassing. She's going to be forgotten. She's going to be used and forgotten. That's what exploitation is about. Using with no compensation, using against someone's better, je ne sais quoi, purpose. Right? Okay, moving on. This is a fun one. It's come up this week. Vaping. Cigarettes. Bad. Full of toxic smoke. That shit'll kill you in anywhere from 30 to 60 years. You'll be dead from smoking. If you don't die from something else first. Smoking will get you eventually. Yeah, I get it. Lung cancer, breathing toxic chemicals and fumes, bad, right? Don't do it. That'll give you cancer. It'll kill you in anywhere from, let's say 20 years to 60 years. Someone like George Burns smoking cigars all day long like a fucking choo-choo train, lives into his 90s, may not be able to get an erection in his 90s, but he's certainly got a handful of young models all the way till his death. Bad George Burns, right? Taking advantage of those young, voluptuous, sensuous models that wanted to pose with him because he was such a neat old character and vaudevillian. Yeah, he lived forever smoking cigars. Anyways, that stuff's bad. I'm not promoting cigars, even though they're delicious. And they help you relax. Don't smoke. John says don't smoke. Bad for you. But what's worse than that is vaping. Right? One of the alternatives to smoking. Because it's just nicotine and some great flavors and shit. And kids bought into that. Big time. Well, fuck it. We don't need cigarettes. Joe Camel wearing a shirt with a camel dude on it that's cool like I did when I was in high school. Bad, right? I never smoked Camel. Never really smoked cigarettes. But the shirts were sure real cool. The Marlboro Man, the Camel, right? Anyways, Spuds McKenzie, Alex from Stroh's, all of the cool mascots that were supposed to appeal to young kids. You know what's funny? As an adult, over 30 years later, I still think those shirts are cool as fuck. And I would still wear them if I could get my hands on them. Instead, I'm stuck wearing this offensive United States Marine Corps Bulldog t-shirt. Because I can't get the offensive cigarette and alcohol t-shirts anymore. Anyways, whatever happened to the right of a woman to choose? Whatever happened to children's right to choose? Right, children, they can tell us what to think politically and how to approach ecology and the world. Listen to children. Children have a choice to think how they want. Women have a choice, but you know, the vaping kills people. It kills them fast. You don't get 30 years or 40 years. It can fucking kill you in the first 5 years or less. So vaping, the safe alternative to smoking, is actually more deadly and more dangerous, apparently. Holy shit. But don't we have the right to choose? If we can choose, well, I'm not a woman. If women can choose whether they feel like aborting a child, anytime during pregnancy and even up to afterwards. Yeah, you can call it abortion. Yeah, the child's been born and you decide you don't want it, you can still kill it. Yeah, that's fine. These people are sick on the left. You have a right to choose all of that, but you don't have a right to choose to smoke or drink. Right? The hypocrisy is rich. The lack of reason, logic, and an understanding of common law, which is the reasoning behind the rules that we have over the ages to drink and to be an adult and to make your own decisions, and whether or not you're competent or incompetent, capable of making your own decisions or it needs to be done for you. All of these rights to choose, right? It's ridiculous. The world is losing its fucking mind is what I'm trying to say. And this vaping thing is yet one more example of that, right? And then the future. Oh, yeah, I love the future, right? Meet George Jetson. As a kid, I watched the Jetsons. I watched Fred Flintstone to look at the past. I watched the Jetsons to look at the future. Flying cars, floating cities, right? Dogs that can talk, make Scooby-Doo sound, well, in fact, I think they were on par with Scooby-Doo. Rastro, boys, the dog was Astro. Rastro. Anyways, future, it's coming. Electric cars. They don't fly yet, but electric self-driving cars. This week we had cars exploding. We had electric vehicles on a semi. They're not on the road. They're being fucking transported on a semi, bursting into flames. We had solar cities, solar panels on top of houses frying. You know what's amazing? This is Tesla Corporation technology. Elon Musk, the world's smartest whatever the fuck he is. And how did he get his money? Where did he get his funding? How was he start? Government money, government loans, government projects. Do you believe his SpaceX bullshit if he can't even get a car to drive down the street and not kill somebody? Yeah, more people getting killed by driverless cars. Fuck it, we don't need driverless cars. We need driverless semis and delivery vehicles all up and down our highways and roads. Yeah. Isn't that awesome? Why just kill one or two people with a car when you can kill dozens with a semi? Go Tesla. The future is on us and it is a dystopian nightmare. Woo! And speaking of nightmares, Hong Kong. Their protesters today took over malls and subways. Not today, this week. Now, why isn't the news all over this? Well, we've had other things this week for the news to focus on, right? Like impeachment. Like some little whining, screaming brat saying her childhood was stolen from her. I'm sorry, her Asperger's and other mental illness problems like depression, that's what stole her childhood. The fact that her parents didn't protect her from indoctrination stole her childhood, right? But that's top news this week, so no one really heard about what's going on in Hong Kong. They had conflicts with the police, and if you remember the promises. Now see, unlike a lot of governments, when China promises to do something, makes a threat, they're going to go through with it. At some point, the Chinese government's going to say enough is enough, and they're going to roll into Hong Kong, which is going to really fuck up a lot of people, and a lot of problems will come out of that. Economic, trade, international, finance, banking, corporate investment problems. Hong Kong is still, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a threat, somewhere between 8 and 9. But getting from that 9 to 10 won't take weeks and months and years. It'll take a matter of hours. That is, a stupid decision or event that occurs could cause China to say, that's it, party's over, everyone gets to go home. Or you get to have a tank party. All right. And to wrap this up, to wrap up the WWU, to wrap up the weekly wrap-up, economic conditions, they've continued to fall. From retail sales to auto to housing. About the only place things are going really well are sales of stocks done by CEOs, CIOs, CFOs, In other words, big shot, hot shot executives selling back their shares of the companies that they work for. They're selling off their stock in the company that they're working for. To me, one, that should be illegal because it's insider trading. Two, it's a vote of no confidence in that company if the CEO is saying, you know what, time for me to sell. You know, I'm not just talking about the company buying back its own stocks, raising the price, so the CEO, CIO, CFOs, all the corporate executives, right, they're causing the price to be raised because the company is taking its liquidity, its cash, and buying its stock and raising the value of its stock, and then they go up here and they sell their own stock at an even bigger profit. Yeah, there's nothing wrong in our world. Everything's cool. Go back to sleep. Grab your crack pipe or your vape pipe. Take a big old tug on that thing and just chill. Just chill, because there's no problems, right? Or, yeah, in my opinion, we are getting closer to shit hitting the fan. We are getting closer. Closer, closer, closer. When you tune in next week, I'm really going to talk about where we're at in the process. I'm going to talk about the importance and the value of things when shit hits the fan. They're going to be really interesting talks. I'll try and get those videos done and out to you on Monday. Should be good, but for now, chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Are we getting closer to shit hitting the fan, or is everything fine, crack pipes for all? Right? You come up with your own conclusion. I've already done my work and I've done my conclusion, and I wanted to share it with you. So you guys be cool, and I'll talk to you very, 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 very soon. Bye-bye.